Yo, in this video, I want to reflect on how I've been able to dive into things that I just love, go into the things that I'm interested in, continue to pursue various interests, continue to pursue my curiosity, and just how I've been feeling overall from doing this, and also the opportunities that I've seen and just things that I've understood. And so, a lot of people often hold themselves back from pursuing things that they're interested in. Oftentimes, they say that they don't have enough time, or that it doesn't make any sense with in terms of convention, right? Like the way that society is set up, you have to box yourself in so that you can succeed, and so that also leads to you not branching out too often. If you're somebody that's interested in coding or art, etc., a lot of people don't pursue them because of whether they think it's financially just not viable, or whether they just think it's illogical. And for me, I've been constantly pushing against that for the past few months, or even now, at least a year or years actually. Really just pursuing my interests, not really worrying about how I'm gonna make it work or whether it makes any sense. To me, I have recognized that if it's something that I'm interested in, then it makes sense. There's no other reason for it to have come to me, for that curiosity to have been born, if it wasn't something that was meant for me. And today, for example, I woke up and I just started going on hikes, like just randomly. It was my body told me it wanted me to go, and so I've gone. And so I've been waking up at 5 a.m. Not every day, but at least 6 a.m. is the soonest that I wake up. Sometimes I wake up at 4 a.m. It's just something that I'm flowing with. But the point is that I've been waking up earlier. I've been going on hikes. I've been feeling a lot better. And yesterday, I didn't go on a hike, and it was a rest day for my body. But what I did see was just my mind like showing me like my feet walking through the rocks and figuring out how, just getting used to the terrain. And to me, it was giving me like a sense of satisfaction knowing that I was going to be going on a hike and climbing up and playing with that, playing with that terrain, having my feet and my body in this different way of walking. And it's crazy to me because we are so used to the pavement, that we are not used to using our feet in different ways. And so it's unlocked some mobility in my ankles. Like I've been stretching them a lot more. I've been seeing that, oh, this is actually natural for my ankles to want to be flexible, because that allows for mobility across all terrain. And so I can make a whole video on hiking, and I probably will, just maybe with a little more time, just lessons that I've learned. But you see me just talking about that. The fact that I'm talking about what I've learned, I've talked about how it's changing my perspective, I've talked about how it's changing my body. All of that came from me just following this impulse, following this curiosity of, first off, it was just an impulse. I was told to go do it, and I did it. And then it became curiosity, and now it is interest. And so, you know, for a regular person to wake up and be told, like in your mind, like your body tells you, go on a hike, for a regular person, that just doesn't make any sense. Why? Like it's 5 a.m. or it's 4 a.m. and I don't have work until 11. And so why would I go on a hike? It's like I've never been on a hike, and it doesn't make sense. Um, and and now, who I am now, it's like, of course I'll do it. I'll do it because I trust my body enough to want to go and experience that. And so it's also become a thing where, just not just body wise, but just curiosity wise, like I'm interested in so many things, and I'm just letting myself explore them. And I'm finding that I'm making it work. Like somehow, in some way, the things that I'm interested in end up connecting. Like editing, animation, it's still something that I love, and it feels so good to come back to the computer and try to animate something, have an idea of like how I want to create something, and then use the tools to do that. And previously I had been frustrated because I was like, oh man, like I'm not repeating enough, I'm not consistent enough with my animation, I'm not animating enough. So I have to kind of relearn every single time I come in. But today I was learning just about how learning is basically offsetting forgetting. So if I'm at least just um, remembering or recalling or asking questions, and just getting into the thing, then I'm learning. And even though I might say that I'm not learning in the sense of like I'm not putting in the time, I just did an exercise. I did the thing that I wanted to do, and I learned there because I was offsetting the forgetting of the thing that I was interested in. And so, and in my ways, the way I would put it in my eyes, I would say, instead of offsetting the forgetting, it's being in relationship with the thing. And so being in a relationship with the thing brings me joy, and that's the only reason why I want to do it. And now, is there a practicality to this? I think there is, because eventually, like, all the interests have somehow managed to get into service. Like in my job, I managed to get to a point where I'm able to use these creative skills of editing, marketing, animating, and contribute to my job in that way. Like I've managed to get to a place where I can where I'm helping my boss with just promoting the business. And it's awesome. It's awesome to know that I'm still able to bring these gifts, these skills into the places where I'm working at. It is very practical, and I think it is the most practical thing to explore your curiosity, because you just become much more versatile. You become much more capable, because when you're at work, the more you learn, the more you can earn. I guess that's a simple thing that I heard. But even like when I was a busser, I was learning about food, and I realized that really the people who are the best servers are really people who are just interested in the culinary arts. They're interested in being able to share the culture. They're interested in learning something about people on the day to day. So I'm gonna take off my glasses because there's too much glare. But I was reading this book of this guy who was talking about, it was about wine, and I was looking to learn wine, and what before he even went into the material, he was talking about his story of how he got into it, and it was such a beautiful story of like him just falling in love with the whole process. He loved learning about wine because he just loved the varieties, and there was a whole science to it, and it made me think about my own curiosities, how there's so much like for example with music, like there's so many ways that music can be depicted or can be made, and there's just so many tastes, so many flavors. And so with time you start developing an ear that allows you to kind of really see the fine details within the songs, right? And it's the same thing with wine. It's like you develop your olfactory or is it your gustatory ability to tell between these different wines. And so with that subtle those subtle changes, you become an expert where you're able to see kind of how even like from like you're able to tell what specific grape and what specific from what place it came from, etc. And it's a great thing. And so then with wine, you get into all these different things, like understanding how climate affects these vines, right? These grapes, and the location, the terrain, and there's this art to it. And so it's not just a science, or it's not just learning, like memorizing things. It becomes a whole experience, a cultural experience, and so you become an artist within that. And so that's why I'm saying, like, it makes the most sense to explore your curiosity. It makes the most sense to learn and have many interests, because at the end of the day, your life is constantly bombarded with different experiences. Like I remember, like the other day, I was just thinking about how I don't know where I'm living. Like I don't know the streets. Like I don't know them that well. And so I was practicing not using my GPS, so I can at least know kind of what the streets are and what freeway I'm using, because I don't have any awareness of the city that I'm living in. And I think that's crazy. Now, I'm not the best. Like I haven't done the best effort, but now I'm at least I'm putting some attention to the street names, and attempting to kind of map out, the north and the south ends, right? And it's crazy to to me it's like it's interesting, like would I be able to drive myself back home if I got lost? And I tried, and I at one point I did have to. Um, if I mean, would I be able to drive myself back home if my phone died, for example, or if I didn't have my phone? And I had an experience where that happened, where my phone was really dying, and I had to drive back home. And I was able to do it. It was simple. It was mainly memory because I was able to remember the last route I took. But still, like doing that was something that kind of opened my eyes to, okay, so you still gotta learn, you still gotta memorize. And so I'm super curious now. I am interested in learning about different memory techniques. Um, how can I learn and remember things better? And so I was looking into a book, the learning gene, I think, or the knowledge gene, and they just talk about how various cultures have survived because various illiterate cultures have survived. They didn't have books, they didn't write, they sang or they danced or they told stories. And so to me that's interesting because I'm like, okay, so learning is not just this one dimensional thing, it's this thing that that enables us to survive as a species, as a culture. Um, and and so in these locations or in these cultures, the people who were the leaders were the ones who were the ones that were the most knowledgeable, and so they were the ones that held the sacred tradition. Whether it be the rituals of hunting, whether it be the rituals of looking into just the history, keeping records of everything that's happened since the start of the culture. Um, all of that is falls on the shoulders of these leaders, and so they had to be people who were um, I want to say, I guess, multi passionate, just versatile. They had to have not just the ability to remember, the cognition to understand, but also the ability and the mastery to teach. And in teaching, they didn't just teach through spoken word. They sang, they danced, they performed, and so it was a whole body experience. It was a whole mind, brain, body experience. It's not just me doing this one thing, putting myself in a box, and that's who I am. And so I realized that I want to be like those leaders. Like I want to be able to have the body that can perform, that can be used to convey a message, not just through my voice, but through my movements, through my dance overall, and also have the ability to use music. Like that's where my interest is pushing me to. It's like I'm learning a little bit about music, but now I'm understanding why I want to, because I'm seeing that music was an important part of knowledge sharing. So really, and now I'm free. I feel like I'm free. I've broken free from this need to know why I'm doing what I'm doing. I just know that if I have to do it because I've been called to do it. I'm curious. There's an impulse. My body's telling me directly, and so there is no sense to what I am doing. The sense is being made as it is happening, and I truly trust that because now I've gotten to a place where there's ample opportunity and there's so much fun and there's so much joy in the day to day, and I don't think a lot of people can say that about their lives. And so what I hope is that through this video, hopefully you're able to consider what it would be like to live a life where you're just following your curiosity, where you're learning on a day to day, where you never stop learning and you don't stop yourself from pursuing your interests. Um, because that's where you will begin to find yourself, find a new you, and create a new life. So I hope that was helpful. I'll see you in the next video. Stay lucid. Peace.